Babette's Feast, known originally in Danish as Babette's Gæstebud, is a Danish drama and comedic film released in 1987. It was directed by Gabriel Axel and produced by Just Betza, Bo Christensen, Benny Kortsen, and Pernille Sjesbe. The movie tells the story of Philippa and Martina, two beautiful young Danish ladies who are the only daughters of a conservative Lutheran pastor. During their youth, Martina meets a young officer from the army, and Philippa meets a famous French singer who falls in love with her voice. However, neither of those relationships lasts longer and they both go back to their normal lives. The main plot is, however, 40 years later when Mr. Papa, the French singer who had helped Philippa, sends a refugee towards them, who escaped France in the midst of the revolution and whose whole family had been murdered. This woman is called Babette and is employed by the sisters as a domestic helper. One day Babette gets informed that she won the lottery and asks the sisters to allow her to cook a meal for them in memory of their father, who died sometime earlier. The sisters agree to let Babette prepare the meal, to which people from the whole congregation are invited. However, they don't realize that Babette is showing them a real feast, so abundant, fine, and delicious that it challenges their conservative religious beliefs, added up to the fact that there are some known attendees, such as the general, who was the officers they met years before. This movie received mainly positive critics when it got released, and it won the Academy Award for the Best Foreign Movie, being the first Danish movie to ever win this award. The movie has a score of 97% in Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics mainly celebrate how the film approaches topics such as friendship and the art of life. The delectable Babette's Feast is a fable told with passion, intelligence, and sumptuousness. Although it certainly has a feast at its center, it would be a mistake to think that its tribute is intended only for great cooks. No, it's a deep reverence to all great artists, whether they make books, bowls, ballets, baskets, quilts, songs, poems, paintings, or films. Sheila Benson, LA Times. Just like any other film, this movie has an important prominence of images over text and dialogue. As follows, I will analyze the image I found the most impactful throughout the whole film according to the theoretical elements of image and composition. First of all, we need to analyze the image according to the elements of the artwork. First, the most basic is the form. We have a composition of human forms, a table full of silverware and glassware, as well as the background that shows a window. Then, we have the subject, which are the people sitting at the table, especially the general who's giving a speech. Also, the table is a very important subject, for it contains the feast that gives the movie title and sets the tone of this scene. Related to this comes context, which we know is a group of people from a Lutheran congregation and an important friend of them who are enjoying an excessively luxurious French feast. This also lets us analyze the content of the image, which consists of the people attending the table, one of whom is about to speak while the others listen, a table full of fine and luxurious food, and the building where the people are located. Now, we should analyze the elements of design. First of all comes texture. In the image we can identify some textures such as the hairy fabric in the general's shoulder pads, the rough but fine texture of the fabric of the general's uniform, the clothing of all the other attendees, the wax of the candles, the glass and the fire of the candles. About contrast, I found the contrast between the general and the lady next to him interesting. The general has fancy colorful attire while the lady to his right is wearing a black simple attire. Also, the general has a confident posture, with his elbows very near the edge of the table, while the lady is curved, inclined, and gives an image of being reserved and submissive to her beliefs. About color, the palette is composed mainly of green and blue tones, as well as a dark tone and a derivative to purple. The dark colors give the audience the sense that the scene is happening at night. It would also mean something dark or macabre was happening, if not for the green color that denotes harmony and the purple that denotes luxury. Their added meaning denotes a setting of luxury, friendship, and harmony, but also a little mystery that would signify the subjects trying to know themselves better away from their conservative beliefs. About shape, as we already mentioned, there are 5 recognizable human shapes, as well as a table full of food and silverware. Lines in this figure are interesting, for we are capable of identifying lines in the wall that break in the window and others in the table that give the sense of depth and lock each character in their respective physical space with respect to the table and each other. Also, the candles' lines are all parallel and give a sense of depth due to the decreasing proportion. Finally, there's architectural design, which corresponds to traditional Danish craftsman styles. This is evidenced by the simple square windows and the triangle-shaped ceiling, as well as the dark walls and interiors. It is also very important to analyze the image according to the principles of design, which are the following. First, we have balance. As seen in the mind map, the composition is perfectly balanced, following the rule of thirds, having the strongest parts of the image, the general, locked within 1/3 and letting the other two in the second plane. Also, the horizontal line thirds corresponds to the edge of the table and line through the heads of the characters. There is obviously also rhythm, which I found mostly represented by the candles that repeat in a linear pattern, which was captured in a horizontal manner to give the image a sense of depth. Regarding proximity, it is possible to arrange the characters in 3 clusters, being the lady that is the closest, so close indeed that the camera doesn't focus on her. Then there's the mid-group, where the strongest point, the general, is, and finally the background, with some characters that are secondary in this exact scene. Regarding contrast, as I already mentioned, it is mostly noted between the general and the woman next to him, because both their clothing and their position denotes contrasting personality traits that have already been explained. Regarding proportion, because human figures are portrayed, the image follows human anatomical proportions, but also their position in the table is proportional to the length of the table itself. Related to this is the scale, which allows us to distinguish the planes where the characters are at. Even though Martina is seen much smaller than the general, our brains know the difference in size is not that big, and thus it defines the scale between them and helps us understand the depth and physical layout of the subjects in the image. The focus of the image is, with no doubt, the general, because of the stance he has, the contrasting colors, and his position regarding the balance of the image. The image is in pure harmony, because there are people listening and people speaking, which makes a closed scenario with no doubtful outcomes and thus gives the viewer a sense of simplicity and pure harmony. Finally, we can recognize some movements, such as the general about to stand up or change stance, the fire of the candles flickering, and the lady next to a general about to lean towards the table. Finally, regarding stylistic components, we can analyze meaning. First, we can see the scene portrays an emitter-receiver situation, where the emitter is the general and the receiver are the people surrounding him, with the exception of 2 people to his left, which is the right of the image, who are not paying attention, and the medium is mainly oral language. Regarding semiotics, there are some symbols that can be recognized in the image. First, there's the cross, which symbolizes Jesus Christ and such every Christian religion such as Lutheranism, which symbolizes faith in Jesus Christ. Then there's the wine, which can represent either the blood of Jesus Christ and his layered suffering that also brings humanity hope and salvation, or the abundance and pleasures of life of the Greek during the Dionysian festivities, because Dionysius was the Greek god of wine and abundance. In this case, I think the latter is more accurate, but also the first one has a meaning because of the conservative religious beliefs that the people have. Another symbol is the glass, which, as can be seen, are fine pieces of glassware and complement the sense of luxury and abundance the other elements denote. Finally, there are the candles that represent light, probably representing the fact that people during these moments are breaking the darkness they had imposed on themselves due to their strict Christian values and finding the light of happiness. Then there's aesthetics. Everything is beautiful in the image, but what really overcomes everything else is the uniform of the general and the table with the feast on it. During the making of this video, I've learned many things about image culture, such as the fact that any image can be analyzed according to the thousands of elements that most people are unaware of. I've also realized that no image is pure serendipity, and every image is planned beforehand by the author and has a specific setting, meaning, and stylistic devices and elements of composition that make it fulfill the author's purpose. I've been applying this new learning in order not to get amazed or mesmerized so easily by images I see in daily life, in marketing, or public places that are some form of propaganda. Also, I'm starting to get awareness about the different techniques that marketing uses and also public propaganda. This means I've noticed a huge change in my perceptions of the image of daily life, and I can no longer sit and enjoy a film without thoughtfully analyzing every setting, meaning, tone, and other stylistic devices of the image. I am wondering how I can use image to excel in my career as an engineer, and that's a question I will be trying to answer in the following months. Thanks for watching. This has been all for my video.